Um, I think what's really interesting over here is I don't think the bar has changed as much as people think, right? There are certain things that print craft and exceptional print craft is measured against. But quite honestly, it's still about a single undeniable idea that lands the moment you look at it, right? You'll find so many conversations today about how people say, "Oh my gosh, you've got like 3 seconds, 5 seconds to grab somebody's attention." Think back to when you were a teenager, maybe let's say looking at Cosmo magazine, right? You'd be flipping the pages, right? And suddenly you'd see the quiz that would catch your attention. But if you think about how fast it took you to turn a page on a book, it's about the same equivalent thing, right? So at the end of the day, it comes down to a singular idea, that just jumps out at you when you look at it. I think what's changed is the context in which print lives, right? Today, a piece of print, it exists in a digital first world. And that same print piece, it gets photographed, it gets shared, it gets screenshotted, and it's debated on social media. So exceptional print in 2026 has to work in both frames, right? Um, so it's kind of got to do what all good print ideas do, and catch you with its craft, catch you with its messaging, jump off the page. But it's also got to survive the context of the digital world, right? And I think that's the one thing that print has always done. It's always brought context to the times that we live in. And I think like in VML, what we do is we talk about like this, and I think this is so important, considering how the current narrative on AI, right? And you'll find like there are two kind of distinct forces that are coming into play right now. There's the whole, everyone who's pushing AI, and AI is growing, and it's definitely a technology that's there for good. And you'll find at the same point of time that the regular person who brands are talking to is also getting a little bit of frustrated, a little bit tired with AI, right? There's the whole AI slop trend. They're saying, "Show me humans," right? And so again, print is like a narrative of the times, as I was saying, and kind of what we do at VML is we talk a lot about this human first approach to creativity. And in print, that means work that connects to something true about the human condition. It's not just a visual trick, it's not just beautiful typography. It's something that makes you feel before you even read a headline or see an image, right? And I think that is really what truly exceptional printcraft has always been. You see it, it jumps at you, it either makes you smile, it takes your breath away, and it makes you feel something. Trends, I guess, since we live in an age where we're supposed to be up to date with what's trends, I think from that context, trends are easy to spot into the room. And they're also usually easy to kind of eliminate, right? If, for example, this is just an example, you see 10 entries using the same AI aesthetic or the same visual language, they cancel each other out, right? Like every year, as part of digital advertising, we go through these are the trends that people are responding to this year. If you saw work that constantly repeats those trends, it's easy to spot it, right? Um, Timeless work, on the other hand, I guess, is about specificity. It's not just that beautiful execution, it's about actually having a point of view. Work that says something, um, work that actually has a POV from the brand and the brand actually believes in, not just something that the brief has asked for. To me, that's kind of like what timeless work is. And you'll see that like consistently, right? Even if you were to like draw that example out to any 5 years or any 10 years, there's always a trend that people are talking about. And there are always pieces of work that you see and you say, that's classic, right? So it's also very nice to have that human feeling of being able to distinguish that this is something that's trending and of the times versus something that's classic, right? Um, yeah. So I think that's kind of like what what is going to separate the timeless from the trendy in this year's entries, right? Um, there are pieces that are going to have a very distinct voice, and there are pieces that are going to leverage certain aesthetics, certain topics, certain language. Like we keep talking about Gen Alpha, Gen Z lingo, and I kind of feel like that's maybe where it'll be at. You've got to understand the competition itself as well. You've got to understand and understand what the requirement of the category and the entries are, right? A lot of times you'll have a beautiful idea that just doesn't do the job for the category, right? So you've got to understand this ad actually doesn't belong in this category. It's a strong idea. It belongs in another category. So understanding which category works for you. The other places, yes, that final mile of crafting, you'll notice that the pieces that have won in India and have done really well really have given each piece that love, that that attention it deserves, right? You look at an idea and you work on it and you work on it and you work on it and you rework on it, right? And the thing of winning and leaving points at can, it doesn't begin and end at just that piece of work that you're doing. The same thing applies to the way you craft the entry, making sure that when a jury sees the entry, they understand the full cultural context. They understand that this story and this piece, what its relevance is and what makes it, so sharp or so special. And the other thing, and I don't think this is just India specific, but I see it happen a lot in India, is just being able to make sure that you sell the idea and release the idea in a way that it doesn't feel scammy. If you have a really great idea, part of that effort you need to put in is to see how you can bring that idea to life, right? But if you go and you do one entry in one very niche magazine or one local publication, right? It actually does your idea a disservice, because I'm pretty sure that a jury member would be like, wow, this is a terrific idea, but I wish this idea had been released in the truest sense of advertising. And that's so important, because at the end of the day, we're not just rewarding craft. We're in the business. We're in a business, right? Advertising is a business of helping brands grow and show results. And good ideas also need to do that sometimes, right? So answering, like, I hope that answers the question in your entirety, like, understanding your category, crafting your entry very carefully, making sure that you put your love into the idea, making sure that the jury understands your story. These are all little stumbling blocks that I feel we could improve on. Um, and while those are generic answers, I do find that they are also very specific to India as well. So happy to be a part of this jury, simply because of the exposure to work from around the world, right? Um, I was very lucky in my career to have spent almost 6 years working in Dubai. And the one beautiful thing that I took away from Dubai was just the various cultures and people I was exposed to, right? Um, what I'm actually very curious to see is those beautiful, beautiful crafted works of art. And there are regions that are known for doing beautiful craft and beautiful work. And like, for example, how Thailand is always known for its humor, but they're also really great for their craft. Um, Japan, who's really pays attention to like the finer details. I'd love to see like some beautiful long copywriting. It's been a while since you've seen some powerful copy come through. So I feel like for me, it's more region agnostic, and it's more about I want to see the full entirety, the power of print come to life again, right? What it's such a beautiful category, and that's what I'm curious to see. Like, have people gone back to doing work that's crafted by hand? Have people gone back to writing a headline that just gives you goosebumps? That's really what I'm looking for, wherever that comes from, whatever region that might be. It's really important, because it's more than just having a seat at the table, right? It's about having a voice in shaping what the world considers is excellent. And I think that's really, really important. And this is why, making sure that we don't leave any points on the table with our entries goes a long way in ensuring that the Indian advertising industry is recognized every year for its growing excellence in craft, in ideation, and in execution. Um, that's a very, very important thing, right? I think also it's important because Indian creativity needs to be evaluated through an Indian lens, right? There's always, there was a point of time when Indian creativity was evaluated through a Western lens. And let's not even say a Western lens. Let's just say a lens that was not Indian, right? And what that does is, like I said, the cultural context, the cultural depth, the insight of what an idea is and why it's powerful goes missing. So it's even more important to have jury members who ensure that the work will be seen with like the right cultural empathy and the right understanding. It's not about being easy on the entries, it's about being fair to the work that carries a context that only certain people can fully understand and appreciate, right? Um, the bigger impact obviously is back home when Indian creatives see their peers on global juries. It's inspiring. It gives rise to like I hope it gives rise to like ambition and aspiration, right? It was like that for me. It sent a clear signal, and it was like, yeah, Dhruv, your ambitions and your goals are very valid. Your work, there's a stage for your work. Go out there and chase it, right? It adds confidence to our industry, and we should be proud of all the beautiful work that comes out of India because our country is rich with and overflowing with a diverse amount of talent across the industry as a whole. And when I say across the industry as a whole, I'm not talking about people who just work in ad agencies. I'm talking about all the associated industries that advertising agencies work with. I'm talking about the people who are like 3D artists, the filmmakers. I'm talking about the people who build sets, the artisans who are painting, right? Um, it's the entire industry. There's so much talent in this country. So representation is important, and it's so good for us. And I hope that we carry on growing from here. It's a shift that's been compounding over the years. And it's important because it starts creating a platform for us to continually grow these world-class creative leaders, right? And it's something that VML is also very deeply invested in. It's like nurturing talent that's about, thinking globally, but has its distinct human Indian perspective too. And I'm also kind of like a product. I bring it up because I'm also a product of that system, right? I was in JWT, I was in VML YNR, I was in VML as well. And this opportunity came from being inspired by so many brilliant creators from the country. Um, so yeah, that's really what I believe India's growing jury representation at Cannes means for us back home. It's a big deal.